Hello, everyone. Welcome to this live virtual session. I'm Rachel Reynosa, Senior Editor at People Matters, and I will be your host for today. We've come to the final episode of the HR Spotlight series, brought to you by People Matters in association with SAP SuccessFactors. A distributed workforce doesn't have to be a disconnected workforce. As the world of work evolves with modern technology, HR leaders need to be equally innovative and intelligent in leveraging these solutions to drive organizational growth and productivity. They need to strike that balance with their employees to achieve digital readiness and steer away from digital fatigue. Today, our final episode is about streamlined work tools, seamless workflows. I'm excited to welcome our experts. Today, we have with us Hutama, Group Head of Human Capital and Services at Asuransi Tugu Pratama, Indonesia, a company that is undergoing transformation to become a digital-first enterprise. Jusman is responsible for the formation of digital teams, reorganization, work optimization, and change management in the areas of digital culture and behavior. Welcome, Jusman.
Hi, nice to meet you, Rachel. Nice to meet you, everyone.
We
Thank
also
you for
have
having me.
we're happy to have you today. We also have with us Sujay Bhat, HR Technology Strategy Advisor at SAP SuccessFactors. Sujay has over 22 years of experience in the HR space across consulting, outsourcing, and cloud HR platforms and services across Asia. In his present role, Sujay works with organizations to help them build their case for change with regard to HR technology transformation. Welcome, Sujay.
Hi, Rachel. Good afternoon, and thank you all for being here.
Now, before we kick off our conversation with Sujay and Jusman, I have one opening question for all of us. What are those key HR technology trends that are complementing this renewed focus on employee experience? Jusman, what are your thoughts on HR tech trends that are kind of galvanizing our focus on EX?
Okay. So, pretty much nowadays, many HR technologies are available to help HR becoming more strategic and helping employers to make decisions. In the area of HR itself, some of big companies have people analytics. Now they try to understand their activities, their employees' activities, so they can measure indicators of what works and what not. So every decisions making, it's measured by them. If we back to the questions, employees nowadays want to have all their information on hand. They want to everything. The information is quite quick, and they want to know what their roles, their duties, and also their rights. Especially if it want to understand their information data that available to the HR. So HR technologies that able to support that kind of experience is currently trending. We see many applications that trending from standalone apps to the full suite apps is available now in the market. If you these apps back with people analytics tools, it will become more important and become trend from nowadays into the future, especially for the organization or companies.
Sujay?
Yeah, Rachel, just to add to what Park just was saying, right? So if we were to look at what defines or what is shaping the way employees are thinking today. So, we live in a world where there's hyper personalization. So employees are looking at how can we personalize things specific to their needs and requirements. I know that's where the aspects of technology such as AI and machine learning are helping you provide personalized content to employees. Like Pak Jusman said, employees are also looking to access information today on demand. So that means, how does HR technology help in providing employees critical information, through multiple devices and to a very digitally mobile workforce, right? So accessibility to information is another requirement of employees today. Social collaboration plays a huge part of what employees feel today with regards to how they want to interact and collaborate with their peers. So how can HR technology lend itself to collaboration, whether it's for knowledge sharing or for learning? We are also talking about employees wanting a certain degree of empowerment today in managing their career path within the organization. So how do they get access to opportunities within the organization? So a kind of a talent marketplace today within the organization. And last but not the least, employees want to be heard, right? They need a voice. So technology tools such as pulse surveys and sentiment analysis along the journey of an employee in the organization also are important elements of technology trends that we're seeing in HR that kind of complement how employees want to experience the workplace today.
So, in us recapping what Jusman and you, Sujay, have said, we go from analytics and decision making to personalization to collaboration and empowerment, and ultimately going back to, are we listening enough to our employees, which again feeds into our the power of analytics in experience management. So, Jusman, how are HR technologies helping a very specific segment of the workforce, or a very specific mode of work, which is the distributed workforce? Can you give us some examples of how HR tech is helping to facilitate a distributed workforce?
Yeah. Employment comes from with many facets, of course. They have differences in demographics, they have difference in geographic area, have differences in what they are doing, their specializations. This is can become a challenge in the company if we don't taking care of it well, because each employees has their specific needs. If we talk about distributed workforce, then of course, right now in a hybrid era, when the pandemic is almost over, hopefully, people likes to work everywhere. While Twitter and Apple possibly works their employees back to the head office, back to their headquarters, but many also employers that try to offer perks of being able to work everywhere. And this is quite important for employers to keep them feel in the same place while they are actually not. So the technology can make the employees productive and feels have they have colleagues that available to talk with. They are part of a big family of your corporations. Is will be helpful for the employees to keep update of the situations and be more productive with each others. So having this, of course, it will help the companies to expand efficiently. Without they a lot of office in the world that are doing the resizing their office from brick and mortar and let the employees work everywhere. Some of the companies do that. So having that, of course, will help a company actually to expand. If expanding without a lot of cost and creating more efficiencies and productivities, of course, it will bring more revenues to the company for sure. So having the right HR technologies, of course, will help companies to do things more efficiently. In addition to that, of course, other technologies that support the way the people work more efficient through distributed workforce is also important. Having that in place.
So the elements of connectivity and
Indeed.
efficiency are
Indeed.
helping. It's more like a outside, going beyond the brick and mortar physical location and actually
Yep.
expanding the footprint
Yep.
in a digital way. Thank you for that, Jusman. Sujay, how is HR tech specifically helping the distributed workforce?
Yeah. So I'll just start where Pak Jusman left off, right? So today, if you see, one is the employee demographics is different. Employee needs and aspirations are different across those different demographic groups. And at the workplace today, we have desk-based employees, and you have deskless employees or frontline employees. So what becomes important today, and this is the role HR technology plays, is a kind of a leveler to ensure that all your employees, whether they're based in the office or frontline staff on the field, irrespective of demographics, have the same experience in consuming the HR practices and policies within the organization. So today, for a widely distributed workforce, I think HR technology plays a very critical part to connect, inform, and engage employees. Connect employees to one another and the organization. Inform employees about various policies, practices available to the employees, whether it is in well-being, whether it's in benefits, keeping them abreast of opportunities that lie within the organization. And the other is to engage with employees with regards to development for current role, development for future role, providing them an insight into opportunities that exist within the organization. So it helps to kind of engage with the employees to not only chart their own career progression within the organization, but also stay connected with the organization to see what is happening, how are things evolving in this very uncertain time that we are. So it plays a very critical role to connect, inform, and engage. And I would take it a little further, saying engage and empower employees to access very critical information to get their jobs done and also manage their career within the organization.
Indeed.
My follow-up question to that, Sujay, is how different has it been from the pre-pandemic era to now where we are? We've kind of learned some of the lessons already about staying connected. How has that level of connectivity changed for the employee? Would you say we're now even more connected to the org than we were before, or it's just a matter of the communication style or connectivity style?
So I think, was that a question to me?
Yes.
Okay. So I think what's happened is, I think before the pandemic, and a few organizations used to do this, it was a lot of informing the employees. It was a lot of information that used to get fed down to the employees, right? But I think what the pandemic did is opened up a two-way channel where organizations, because employees were remote, employees were working virtually, digitally, flexibly. So there was a certain amount of a disconnect that was developed because of the lack of being present in the office space. So organizations started connecting more with employees to understand what are they thinking and what are they feeling of all the changes happening around them in their immediate ecosystem, and also pinging them for their views on how the policies and practices that were being formulated to deliver outcomes to the employees, how were they actually being perceived? Were they working for employees or not? What needed to be changed? What needed to be improved? Now, throw into this the entire challenge of the burnouts, the mental well-being that we're talking about today, and employees quickly getting disconnected with the purpose of the larger organization and the employer and leaving, which was the great resignation that we saw. So I think that the connection has become a lot more two-way than it was in the past. That's what I feel and sense and see around me today.
Thank you, Sujay. Now, when it comes to the purpose of transforming the employee experience, Jusman, what should employers look for? What elements should employers look for when developing or designing EX?
Interesting questions. So pretty much is the elements that need to be understand well is actually where is the company's heading, what is the top management wants to uh, to have the purpose of employee experience, we saw recently that a social media platform forced the employee to back to work from the office because of the changes of the top management, and I think it's on the news everywhere. So it depends on how the top leaders want to see how employee experience is being developed in their company. So that's the first element that need to be tackled. And the second element, of course, understanding your employees very well. You need to listen to them. What are their needs to be able to companies to support their well-being. Of course, having employee experience or EX in place, uh, the purpose is to have a better retentions and better productivity for the employees. Having that in place, so if you put anything that not actually work for them, it can be overkill or unnecessary effort that you are making to make it happen to have employee experience in place. Sometimes because you have everything very good um in place already, you just need to tweak a bit or possibly give access to them to communicate two ways, as suggested earlier. So possibly it already enough for them, but the companies that organizations that having not that in place yet, they need to consider what the views of the employee experience will be for their employees, and what is quite match for them to be fulfilled in terms of well-being and experience itself.
Thank you, Jusman. Sujay, elements that you would recommend that employers look into as they transform EX.
Yeah. So, I would look at it, I would draw an analogy to answer that question into CX, which is customer experience, right? So, today, all organizations are redefining their customer experience. They want to get closer to their customer. They want to be more personalized in their offerings to the customers. They want to redesign the entire customer journey or experience, keeping the customer right in the center. They want to look at store designs or online store designs specifically with individual customers in mind, and they work backwards with regards to either using design thinking to plan these journeys. They change the product design or service design, as well as policies and practices that enable staff who are working with customers to get their job done. So I think the same is applicable from an employee experience formulation standpoint. Look at your employee, see what they need. And, like I said earlier, we're looking about hyper personalization, on demand information, empowerment. You're looking at employees wanting to manage their own career path. So how do you use all this? Structure policy and practices to meet these requirements. Stay agile in order to change quickly, because these employee needs are evolving as work and the working environment changes. At the same time, how do we see that processes and technology are easy to access, easy to use, and easy to adopt? So I think that fundamentally defines how organizations should structure employee experience. And the same design thinking methodology could be used to plan employee journeys within the organization, or micro journeys within a certain journey itself. So I think it's very similar to CX.
Thank you for that, Sujay. Now, I'm curious to find out your opinion, both of you, your opinion on. There is sort of like a debate between whether one should go with a best in breed or a best of suite HR solution when it comes to designing employee experience. Of course, we know when we speak of best in breed, it's the architecture of the solution would be more static as opposed to like best of suite, which is more flexible. What is your opinion on that, Jusman?
Well, it depends. It can be both can be good, depend on the organization's purpose and aim and purposes. So what I can say is, if everything is already in place, then best in suit is possibly suitable for them. But if this is kind of new and possibly uh, need the helps of the applications to create new experience or employee experience for the company or the organization, possibly best in breed. is a quite good solution for them because they can learn how to deliver an employee experience, but of the applications, the feature in the applications. So pretty much it's depend on the situation of the company. Both can be good, but then having an app that can be tweaked a bit more here and there, of course, will be helpful for many organizations to deliver better employee experience.
Yeah. Thank you, Jusman. Sujay?
So, like Pak Jusman said, there is no, how can I say this? There's no right or wrong philosophy to be on whether it's best of breed or best of suite. But each one has inherent advantages and disadvantages. And best of suite, as per what I believe, has more advantages than best of breed. Because if you were to look at the evolution, right, of HR technology, we started with HRM, or human resource management systems, way back, which were primarily to capture all employee data or master data, which was the database of the employee, and it started in that fashion. Then along the way, we had human capital management, which started looking at employees and colleagues as assets to an organization, and it started evolving more into talent management. But then you had very bespoke, best of breed solutions for different aspects of talent management. You had something for learning, you had something for performance, you had something for recruitment. Now that was an evolution from just managing employee data, right? You were looking at talent. So that became the best of breed. But today we've gone from HRM to HCM to HXM, which is human experience management. And in that, it's not about modules, but it is about employee journeys. So, we're so used to looking at things modular. Employee journeys are not modular. Employee journeys are journeys, right? So systems are modular, but employee journeys are across the module. So what happens then is best of suite becomes fit for purpose in today's situation because the focus is on experience. And let me give you an example, right? uh, if you take learning, right, today, which is more on demand consumption of learning. So you learn when there is a change in a regulatory or a statutory compliance, which is very specific to your work. You learn when you join an organization. You learn when you change your role within an organization. You learn and upskill yourself for as part of your own performance management for your current role. You learn and upskill yourself for developmental goals or what you aspire to do in your next role. You learn when there is an event where you become a manager and you need to acquire new skills. So if you see this 360-degree learning in my what I narrated to you now touches core HR, touches performance, touches recruitment, touches onboarding, touches role change. So it becomes very difficult to have a standalone best of breed system integrated to all these life events, which may be in number of other systems. So from an employee experience point, there is a break and it's suboptimal. So hence I would gravitate more towards best of suite in today's time and age because it aligns more closely with human experience management.
I like that you kind of highlighted the primacy of the employee journey, you
Yeah.
know, driving the narrative or the conversation on how to select technology. Because at the end of the day, it is about improving the experience rather than just taking modules and or point solutions left and right, and ending up with a very fragmented technology stack, let's say.
Yeah.
So my next question now is about the power of data analytics in HR transformation. Now, with data analytics at the forefront of HR transformation strategies, how can it be strategically leveraged? I know you've mentioned, both of you have mentioned examples earlier about how we can use data strategically to meet the needs of a distributed and diversified workforce. Jusman, let's start with.
Well, as I said earlier, data analytics bring many possibilities. You knows very well what it works, what it's not. So if you dive too into the data, then it will help you actually to understand your employees better. And having that in place, we can tune the policies, what is important to the employees, and of course, by knowing that through the data, it will create good, better employee experience. Let's say we talk about health or benefit that we deliver to them for, you know, uh, outpatient or inpatients. Having that budget, if we can measure it properly through the data, we can possibly try, shifting the budget for other purposes, and we then can create flex benefit for the employees. So that's quite important, having flex benefit, because possibly the earlier age of demographic in the workforce and your employees may not need a huge health coverage, but otherwise in the one that already seniors possibly need that larger than the younger one. So having you can if you can shifting the budget of that, of course it will create more happiness to employees because the younger one possibly like to more travel more, or they can incentivize for having work not in the office because we are resizing the brick and mortar office, something like that.
So data allows us to capture that diversity of experiences and diversity of the
Yeah,
demographics
yeah,
in order to
right.
make better decisions. Sujay?
Yes,
Yeah. So I think, yes, analytics is very important, and today, it is top of mind for all leaders, right? So what becomes important is to differentiate between reporting and analytics, right? So what is happening in any function of HR is basically reporting, right? What is happening in recruitment, in learning, in performance, in transactions is reporting. So today, a lot of organizations are lacking in reporting itself, right? So that's the first area.
yes, that's very true, Sujay.
Yeah, so I
Right.
think, you need to prepare yourself for the next stage. Yes, analytics is important, but you can only analyze if you have accurate data, and data in a single in a single instance or a single point. So it becomes important to understand what to get right before you think about layering an analytics wrapper around information, right? So the why of the what is analytics. So we know what is happening, but why is it happening is analytics, right? And so powerful analytics tools like, the ones we have, what happens is, it helps you start immediately, because if you buy an analytics engine or a tool, you need to be able to know how to leverage it, how to use it. You need to know what to analyze, what to compare, what to correlate, what to do a hypothesis on, right? So you need a lot of standards and templates off the shelf for you to start leveraging it and using it. So that becomes important for you to be able to drive that transformation you want. It has to be out of the box, right? And you should be able to drill down into a reason and roll up that reason as well. So for example, if I was to say, one is gut, one is data, right? If I was to say, I feel so and so source of hiring is the most effective for us because my report says that we hire 80% from this source, right? So that is the what we do, the source of hiring. But how do I know that that source of hiring that I am using and the people who join stay with me for longer than 6 months? How do I know that the people who join from that source are performing well within the roles? How do I know that these employees, are working well in teams with regards to the softer aspects? So once I start layering those dimensions of data, then I can say, okay, indeed, I hired 80% from this source, and these 80% of workforce stay with me more than 6 months, perform very well, are working very well in their teams. Then I'm able to justify that hypothesis. So it helps in this, right? So there is insights, there is actions. So yes, they are important, but not because in itself it's important because everybody is doing analytics, let's do analytics. But it's very important to understand what are the prerequisites. How will the tool help you get to your speed to market has to be considerable with these tools. So how much of content do these tools come with to help you correlate, analyze, is what I think is most important. Yeah, so I cannot argue with the fact that analytics is important, but there are various elements that make up how you execute that.
Thank
Agree
you,
with that.
Suji. Just one. Would you like to add your thoughts? I know you want have
Yeah,
ideas.
I totally agree with Sujay that we need to really understand. We must have a good reporting first. We must have good data first. Then we can analyze the data. We can analyze the report. What is good for our employees. But then, in general, I totally agree with Sujay.
Yeah.
Just
And
a
you
quick.
can use
Yep.
it as
Go ahead.
benchmarks also. So if you were to subscribe to a solution that has masked benchmarks, so you're not only benchmarking yourself internally, but you can benchmark yourself against your peers. And yes, all is subject to legal permissions and data privacy and security, but it gives you a good opportunity to benchmark as well.
Yep.
Indeed.
Just a quick follow-up question to both of you. How or what would you advise organizations that are, still having to figure out the reporting aspect? How do you get HR professionals from answering the what and getting them to the why and the what now? Just want any advice for getting organizations started in their reporting and analytics journey?
Sorry, Rachel. Your voice was broken. Could you repeat the questions? Sorry.
What would you advise
Mm-hmm.
employers who want to build up their capability for reporting and
Mm,
analytics, especially the
okay.
fundamentals of
I see. Oh well, pretty much they have to be disciplined about how they handle the data first. Whatever the employees do or register for something or even their career advancement, you have to have everything the record in place first. By having that and whatever your and also for whatever your policies created, you have also to have a measurement for that. So if everything in place, then you can start to build a data management for employees, and of course you can start analyzing it later on for better decisions in the future.
Thank you, Jusman. Suji, how do we get them started in the fundamentals?
So, so what I see organizations do, right, the ones who are leading the pack, uh, it's not always about the tool, but it's also about developing the internal competency within the HR teams by hiring folks who've done this before. And so the tool brings in itself a set of data points, a set of standard templates, and correlations and trends and benchmarks. But how do you leverage that? And how do you make that a part of the ongoing continuous improvement process within the function? Requires a certain amount of dedication, because otherwise what will happen is, although you have a powerful analytics engine, you will drift back towards the mere what, which is reporting. So you would need a kind of a dedicated excellence within the function to focus on predictive, to focus on analyzing data, and to see how they can influence with evidence how fine tuning of practices or policies can happen. So it requires a certain amount of dedication and in terms of competencies and headcount to be able to do this on an ongoing basis.
Now, my next question will actually take the idea of reporting and analytics a bit further. Now, how do you measure the impact of digital solutions when enhancing the employee experience? So now it's about you know making sure that the impact that we set out to do when we deploy the solutions is actually happening, is actually giving us the ROI, and improving employee experience. Jusman, what are your thoughts on getting that measurement correctly?
Yeah, for sure. We have to know. We have to have informations of how many people use the solutions. So having that in place, then we can understand is it solution is also working for them or not. The solutions is applicable to them or not. If we know if the usage rate is quite high, then we can draw the data and make reporting and analyzing it. That's become valid. But if not many people using it, not many employees using it, then your solution can be overkill for them. Of course, to make this effective in place, you need to have kind of campaign socializations, approach to them to make them understand what is important for them, especially in remote work area or distributed geographic. They cannot be in the same place all the time, so it's quite important to have the solution in place. But if you have new employees, then you can put it as onboarding program to understand how your organization works with these solutions. If the existing employees that this is kind of new, then you have to have a socialization or campaign for this to be success.
Thank you, Jusman. Sujay?
Yeah. So, like Pak Jusman was saying, the proof of the pudding is in the adoption, right? So, if a system is easy to use and effective, the adoption rates would be optimal, right? So that's the first metric. Apart from that, the best thing is to ask the end users. Now, when I say end users, there are different end users, right? There's the employee, there is the business user, and there is HR. So, how ask all of them, saying, how is the tool working, what is optimal, what is suboptimal, what needs to improve, what are the gaps. So that is in itself is a lot of data, which helps you understand how well your investment is working for you. Apart from that, there are other dimensions like operational efficiency, in terms of time saving for managers, for employees, for HR administration. You can look at total cost of ownership, what it was before and what it is today. That's a good indicator. You could also look at, what is the lead time for you to roll out new innovations or new functionalities, which is very relevant at that point in time. So before, what was the average time to roll out? What is the time to roll out innovations at this point in time? So that's another very good metric. And apart from this, if I were to think about how would you measure, it's also about the effectiveness of the practices, whether it comes to attrition or it comes to KPIs such as internal promotion rates. How have you improved on these specific KPIs, or we call them value drivers of technology? For example, training penetration, right? I was talking about desk-based workers and deskless workers or frontline workers. So, is the learning penetration the same for both these different employee groups? So, you could have a number of metrics, but your question is very relevant because these metrics could be different for different organizations based on what they want to drive as terms of value, or what the value drivers are. So it becomes important that you baseline what your current performance is. So you need a baseline, you need an as is report card, and then you start seeing the improvements in T plus 6, T plus 18, T plus 24, or T plus 36 on how you have improved. And if not, what are some of those challenges and how do you fix it? So I think those are some of the ways in which you can define the value of the investment that you put into HR technology.
So ultimately, you will have to ask yourself your value drivers as an organization. Now,
Yes.
we're down to our last question. Overall, what is your outlook of a tech-driven employee experience in the future? Jisman?
Well, to me, having good employee experience, of course, uh, for the purpose of retaining the talents and also talent management. Talent war is getting fierce nowadays. People now can easily move jobs because of their well-being is harmed by the policies of the company. Back in the days, people it's quite difficult to get a job and then just do whatever the companies asks. But nowadays it's quite different. While some big companies already ask the employees to work from office, but the success of that is depend on actually how the companies create overall employee experience to them. Possibly it works for the employees, but other companies may not. So having that in place is quite important to companies or organizations to retain the talent. So having HR technologies and of course other technology that support a hybrid work era will be playing major role for organizations to keep track and retain their talent. I see with this, even though it getting fierce in talent management, but I see the future is easier for companies to maintain their talent if they can utilize HR technologies that can support their organization needs. That's what I see for the future, Rasha.
Thank you, Jusman. Sujay, your closing comments on designing the employee experience?
Yeah. So I guess, like I said, right, whatever we're talking about employee experience is very closely related with customer experience, because employees are customers. And today, if you see, we are, the velocity of change around us in all aspects, the velocity of change is tremendous, right? So everything needs to keep pace with that change. And today, work as we know it is changing. Employee needs and aspirations are changing. Organizations are changing. Business models are changing. Regulatory and statutory compliances are ever evolving. So I think for to maintain that employee experience and to put it as paramount, what I feel is required is agility and the need to be dynamic, right? So you need to change at a very quick pace now to keep in sync with what's happening around us. And as the workforce becomes younger, they are net native right from the word go, right? And it's an on-demand culture. I need everything now, and I need access to infinite information, right? So how does HR technology provide the same experience that I have as a consumer, where everything is on demand, on tap, right? So I think that is the future is going to be extremely high velocity, according to me. Rachel, I think you're on
Rachel,
mute.
I think you're still on mute.
So thank you once again, Jusman and Sujay, for the wealth of insights that you've shared this day, from the importance of analytics to personalization to the consumerization of the employee experience. It was a very fun learning session this afternoon, and we would also like to thank our partner for this session, SAP SuccessFactors. SAP SuccessFactors solutions are changing work for good, strengthening the connection between HR and business operations to help organizations create a sustainable workforce and profitable business. Spanning core HR and payroll, talent management, HR analytics and workforce planning, and individualized employee experiences, SAP SuccessFactors Human Experience Management Suite, or HXM Suite, helps employees and companies alike to be their best. Now, for more details, you can visit www.sap.com and find out more about HXM. Now, it's been a pleasure hosting both Jusman and Sujay and all our listeners and viewers today. Again, I'm Rachel Renosa. Have a great day, everyone.
Have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rachel, and thank you for all the audience for the participation.
Yeah, thank you for the audience. Thank you, Sujay.
Thank you, Pak Jusman.